Hello there, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. My name is Oluwayomi Ute, and it's such a joy to come your way this very beautiful morning. And thank you so much to everyone joining me live. I do not take it for granted at all. Thank you so much. And for those that will watch thereafter, I say a big thank you too. Remember to like the video, to share it, and let somebody out there know there's something called Knocks to Nuggets. Let's build this community together. So, this month, this very amazing month, is the month of the women. Yes, it's the month of the women. So, we started this month with Inspire Inclusion with Binta Max Benije. And last Monday, celebrating motherhood, Mother's Day edition, we had in the house Bimbo Loyede, who turned 70 on Friday. That was just an amazing session. And today we are taking it further. Still talking about women. It's all about women in this month of March. It's our month. And today we're going to be looking at our theme for International Women's Day, Inspire Inclusion, but this time from a man's perspective. All these things we're talking about, is it just a women's thing? Is it real? Are we living in a dreamland? Is there really something about inclusion, or are we the one excluding ourselves? Well, let's see what the men will have to say. And I have in the house today someone who is no longer a guest, is a member of the Knox to Nuggets family. Is a consultant with several years of practice and is been through the full radar. Is a strategist, is a corporate governance expert, is a change management and culture transformation expert, is a coach, is an HR strategist and an organization design expert, is a performance management expert, is a learning and performance training expert. So, of course, talking about inclusion, he has it all. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to receive to the Knox Nugget platform again, Babatunde Bamgboye. Hey, yeah, we're inspiring inclusion. Good morning.
Good morning, Ma. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be on this very august platform. Thank you so very much for having me.
I should thank you more. I understand your schedule. So to take out time to be here, I do not take it for granted at all. So Tunde, we've been talking about inclusion, inclusion, inclusion. From your perspective as a guy, what do you think?
The yes, it's from a man's perspective, it's quite it's very interesting simply because it challenges the stereotypical perception about masculinity for a lot
Hmm.
of men, because especially when we begin to think about from this part of the world, our cultural inherency, or whereby women are supposed to stay at home, look after the children, cook for the husband, and the man is supposed to go out and bring the bacon. So when we're having these conversations around diversity, equity, inclusion in today's workplace and workspace, it begins to sort of enter into a turf that the man is traditionally managing and holding. So it's a difficult place. But one of the things that I'm learning and also unlearning is something that I was listening to a podcast between three fantastic people: Adam Grant, Simon Sinek, and a beautiful lady called Brené Brown. And Brené Brown is known to sort of speak around the issues around inclusion, but something that she speaks about very frequently about vulnerability. And the question she was asking is that vulnerability for men is usually challenging because it sort of shows weakness. But when we talk about inclusion from a man's perspective, and that is what women are saying, is we're not saying that you're vulnerable. We're not even just talking about inclusion, we're talking about equity, the fairness to
Mm-hmm.
give us a chance to breathe and compete on the same level field. All
Yeah.
right. And we're not challenging gender roles. It's not about roles. Women are secured in themselves. It's simply that give us an opportunity to express our talent and add value or deliver value um, in places that we feel that we have the competence and the skills to deliver value. So a lot of us men, we need to begin to sort of change our perspective to how these conversations are ongoing.
Hmm. Thank you so much. And I love the way you started it. A lot of men need to change the perspective. We are not challenging men. We're not saying anything. We're not saying you don't deserve your seats you have. We're not trying to remove the chair from under you. But we are saying give us also a fair chance. But from your experience in the corporate space, how has it been when women are now let me rephrase it. A lot of women out there, and really, like you said, we're not asking for space. We're not asking for space just to be one in the number. We're asking for space by reason of competence, by reason of skill.
Yeah.
Without bias, how have the women fared in that space?
I'll be fair. I mean, it's again, you see, and that's where the conversation is really interesting. It's not really about a gender issue. It's just personality issue, because a lot of people lead from their personality, from the for how they see the world, from their perception. So it's whether you're, it's not based on whether you're a male or you're a female. It's just, are you a human being? So when you come to the workplace, irrespective of your gender, can you deliver value? So, what I would say in today's corporate space, in terms of delivering value, I would say is 50-50. I mean, women are doing fantastic work while men are doing fantastic work. Men are incompetent, same way women are also incompetent. The critical question is, are you delivering on value? But in terms of how organizations are bringing in more women into the workspace, I would say this, that Africa is doing very well. I mean, in a recent survey by Deloitte, so I do some work with a consulting firm, and I'll just give a shout out to her, Habiba Consulting. I mean, she's a fantastic woman, and she drives a lot. I mean, she's a proponent of DEI in today's workspace. And so, with her and quite a number of thought leaders, we do a lot of work with USAID via a program called the Power Africa initiative, whereby we train women. I mean, over the last, in fact, there's a training going on right now. Over the last 2 or 3 years now, we've trained, I mean, close to maybe 900 women. I mean, at different levels, whether at middle level, whether at senior level, whether at C-suite, to be able to get the necessary skills to sort of dominate the power sector. And what we have realized, based on research from Deloitte, is that Africa has done well with regards to women occupying C-suites and senior level position. In fact, after South Africa, Nigeria is doing very well. So, in terms of inclusion at certain levels, right? Nigeria is doing well, but that's at the private sector. But in the public sector, the questions, I mean, the conversations are completely different. What we have noticed is that most women are more predominantly moved to areas that are usually, in quotes, women friendly, like humanitarian affairs,
Mhm.
um, child and youth and whatever. But
Youth
in
and
terms of
development.
critical skills like I mean, put justice aside, things like civil construction, urban, physical urban planning, you would notice that you don't see a lot of skillful women in those places. So again, like I said, in terms of private sector engagement, inclusion is gaining a lot of momentum, but public sector still has a lot of work to do. So in terms of Nigeria and Africa, I mean, Rwanda, for instance, over nearly 60% of the legislators are women in Rwanda. So again, it just simply tells you that Africa is coming up to speed. But one of the things that we need to address as men is this issue of our vulnerability, that we have nothing to prove. Margaret Thatcher said something very instructive. She said, if you need to tell everybody that you're a woman, then you are not.
Yeah.
I usually see this in the class. I would say that, for instance, as a leader, you don't need to say, don't you know I'm the man of this house? What were you before? You're not the woman of the house. You're not. So it's not about a competition. So men should be more vulnerable. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. Vulnerability is the ability for you to open yourself up to new things, new ideas. Albert Einstein said something very important, said that the significant problems that we face, all right, cannot be resolved at the same level of thinking. If we're going to
Of
change
course.
our circumstance, we need to change the way we think. We need to see that women are complementary, right? And again, one of the notions, again, for me, from a religious perspective, is when we usually see that women are the neck. No, no. Women are not the neck. Women are, we're face to face. In fact, the Hebrew tradition uses a phrase called ezenekto kenekdo. Ezenekto means warrior. That's what it means when the religious script says that, let me find a helpmeet. The Hebrew phrase there is eze, which means stone, where you get Ebenezer from. Kenegdo, which means a fierce warrior, one who complements, one who is face to face, not neck to head, face to face. So women are such a critical, integral part of humanity's progress and sustenance.
Wow. Thank you so much. You touched on on something very, I don't want to use the word "so" now, because it's something that you see everywhere, particularly in the corporate space. When people just think this phrase of men are the head, women are the neck, and we take it away from the home, we bring it to the workspace. So even in the workspace, we want the woman to be subject to the guy. When the guy is speaking, the guy lady should keep quiet. And for the women to get to the C-suite, they practically like do like 3 4 times more than the men before they are given that before they are accorded that respect. Now, from your perspective as an HR person, how do we do this? How do we deal this? I mean, is it that we men need to come to a conference and tell themselves in the workspace there's no head and neck? We are face to face. We are standing tall together. We are complementing each other. You are doing your bit, I'm doing my bit. Nobody is secondary to the other. How do we break this thing?
That's why HR has to do a lot of things. I mean, I don't want to go so that they don't flog me, since we're all colleagues. But and that's why, because HR are the drivers of organizational policy and custodian of the culture of the organization.
Mm.
Again, so we need to ask ourselves, what is the culture of the organization? Do you have a DEI policy that drives this level of inclusion within your organization? So when there are policies, it enables people to become more compliant. Do you have a harassment and discrimination policy that ensures that victimization and harassment are dealt with and nipped in the bud within the organization? I.e., for instance, harassment could also be those sexual innuendos. That's harassment as well, right? Whereby you see somebody who is a woman who is highly competent, but she's endowed, right? And the guy says those funny jokes and says, look at your, permit me to use this word, look at your bakasi. No, 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 no. It is not permitted in this workplace. That constitutes harassment within the organization. Or you see somebody who's of a different orientation, and she wears probably her punjab or her hijab, and you begin to say that because of this you cannot deliver on that. And I've had that experience when we did something for a telco over a 9 month period, where the line manager had a challenge with a lady simply because she was of a different religious orientation. That constitutes harassment. I mean, when we are supposed to, when we now brought him to his own bias, he felt so bad, and he had a conversation with this lady. The lady broke down with tears, and this impacted. So he had this horn bias in terms of her performance appraisal. He always rated her low, even though
Mm.
our other superiors always saw that this lady was a, I mean, this lady added value and delivered. So HR needs to be able to push these policies and ensure that these things happen. You know, Habiba Balogun Consulting, they did something recently. They did a survey on sexual harassment in 2021, and they've done, I think, a follow-up. And in that survey, it's sad to say that harassment, diversity, mostly harassment and sexual harassment and discrimination in the workplace in especially in this part of the world, across both public and private institutions, are issues that are really not dealt with, because we have a cultural perspective of always not voicing out.
Yeah.
And so HR is supposed to be the voice of the voiceless. HR is supposed to be able to amplify, because I don't it all. When I say the voice of the voiceless, what HR should be doing is to ensure that the culture of the organization is consistently amplified. So if you have a culture that says that professionalism, then it should be seen in how people discuss and have conversations amongst each other, especially the male and the female. If you're working at an engineering firm or a projectized environment that deals with a lot of technical stuff, i.e., let's say the power holding companies, then the question for you would be that allow women who have this technical ability to climb the ladder.
Exactly.
Don't say that because they are skilled and they are trained to climb the ladder. Don't say because they are women. No, give them the opportunity to express and show their skill. Policies should be put in place that speaks to this reality, and HR should be bold enough, radical enough to push this agenda into these workspaces. And let me say this: there's certain innate skills that women have that when they bring it to the table, it enables, because women most, I won't say so again, this is a very stereotypical statement, but it skews more to the women. Women are more empathetic than men. Again, we could argue about that, but because of their natural proclivity, I'm not saying all women, but most women are more empathetic. Empathy is such a powerful skill, especially as we move into the future. I mean, if you look at the Future of Jobs report, 2023 by World Economic Forum, you will notice that apart from creative analytical skills, some of the top three or the top four. So you will see empathy, listening skills are such a very important skill set. I think number 5 or 6 on the 10 skills that they consider very important going into 2027. So these are very important. So HR, right? For all of my HR colleagues, it's important that we emphasize and push this agenda, have an harassment and discrimination policy, have a DEI policy that guides recruitment, talent management, succession planning within your organization, onboarding processes within your organization, so that what really happens is that you create a wholesome, a great place to work, a place where people are deeply respected and connected.
Hmm. Thank you very much. To create a great place to work, a place where people are deeply respected and they're connected. Now, let's still talking about inclusion. One of the things that women have faced over time, particularly in recruitment, is this discrimination at the point of employment. Also, you don't want to hire somebody who is newly married because soon she's going to go on maternity leave. Or you don't want to hire somebody who is still in the childbearing age because soon she's going to go on maternity leave. And these things stare us in the face. For some employers, have been known to stylishly ask, I hope you're not ready to go on maternity leave soon. But it's part of what who we are. That's where we're created. We are created to reproduce. And these things unconsciously they put the woman down. What is your opinion about this?
Again, that constitutes a discrimination against. So the question for us is the guiding principles. The guiding principles would include number one: is this particular lady delivering on value? Is she exceeding her targets? If it's a tick on the box on all of those indices, then what's the big deal for her going on? And you can create, I mean, there's a lot of flexible options. She can work from home as long as she's delivering on value. And that's the critical, that's where our focus, and that's why we need to deal with a lot of these biases. And that's again, this is where HR comes in, and this is how we deal with some of all of these things within today's organization. Like I said, it's this stereotypical mindset that is really pervasive in our organizations. And this is not just culturally I mean, this is not just pertinent to us in this part of the world. I mean, it's pervasive in all different clients, because as long as there's a man there, the man will always have this position that. So again, when there are policies that guide these kinds of actions and these kinds of scenarios, what it does is that it helps in planning. It helps in, okay, you know what? Okay, you're going on your mat leave. All right, we know that your due date is in 3 months' time. Okay, you know what? Take a break. All right, but work from home, scale down on this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you'll notice that the woman is able to give more. You know, one of the things that Abraham Maslow said is that is a critical need which leads to satisfaction and progress in his hierarchy of needs is
Yeah.
safety. And the next thing he spoke about is a sense of belonging. When your staff, notably now your women, if they don't feel a sense of belonging, they leave the organization.
Hmm.
So they have what they call presenteeism. Their body is there, but their mind is not.
Hmm.
Right? You need to also understand that we're all differently wired. Men are differently wired. Women, the natural inclination, not all women again, but most women, the natural inclination is that when they're at work and they have a child at home, the child comes first. So, how do we build systems to ensure that we're able to get the best out of this woman where other needs,
Hmm.
right, are also sort of kept in the, i.e., create a crutch within the organization, right, and hold them accountable and responsible from running that particular crutch. So there's a lot that we can do as long as we're willing to make the change, the political will to ensure that we're able to effect this change. Truth be told, we need each other. I'm telling you, we need each other, and that is such an important thing.
Hmm. Truth be told, we need each other. And the basic thing is willingness to change, willingness to allow women be who God has made them to be. Now, let me allow you speak to the young generation, the young ladies who are just coming into the workspace. So they are fresh graduates, fresh out of school, and they are facing, of course, they've faced it all through school, but now they're in the workspace. And again, these things are staring them in the face. And for every young lady who is getting into work, their eyes on the C-suite. What will be your counsel to them?
One of the things I've learned and I've seen and I've learned from women who have broken the glass ceiling is that these women were transfixed on what they truly want to achieve, and they are willing to pay the price. I'm telling you, the road to the top is not going to be easy. The proverbial corporate ladder, as you go up, it becomes narrower, right? And organizations are going to look for the best of the best. So, as a woman, you need to be willing, like they say, if you're not willing to stay in the kitchen or deal with the heat, then leave the kitchen. So the truth about the matter is that nobody's going to hand it over to you like a bag of cherries. You are supposed to, permit me to use this word for the lack of words, it's to fight. You have got to fight. You need to ensure that, listen, that you have a seat at the table. Get a sponsor, somebody that can speak about you. Look for mentors, look for coaches that can enable you become the best version of yourself. Be clear about what you want to achieve. When you fail, have a next time mentality, right? Don't bounce back, bounce forward. Always learn from your mistakes and move forward. Don't give up. Take on projects, challenge, consistently move that narrow, challenge the frontiers of your knowledge. I was listening to Funke Oshubudu. I remember that was one time MD of Union Bank and
Young man.
Benin Disco. Yeah, and she was sharing her that when she was serving, she served at Citibank, right? And as and if you know her, she's very small. You know, she's smallish, very petite. But so when she got into Citibank, she was serving, she was working in the treasury department. And doing the performance, the monthly performance review, the her boss, the departmental head, resigned. So nobody was expecting that she was going to make a presentation because it was closed. But you know what she did? She stepped up to the plate. She stepped up to the plate. She prepared, and it's okay if I let her make the presentation on behalf of the. But so what she did, she was prepared. I always tell people, don't prepare for events, prepare for eventualities. Events are known, so it's easy for you to prepare towards it because you know the date. But eventualities will always come, and that is why you consistently get ready. And she was able to make a presentation. You see, that challenged her. That as long as you're willing to put in the work, as long as you're willing to step out of your comfort zone. And sometimes when you step out of your comfort zone, you enter into your panic zone. Don't panic. Take your panic zone as your learning zone. But consequently, I mean, ironically, what you're doing is that you're expanding your comfort zone, because eventually at some point you come into your magic zone, which is what Maxwell calls the big move, the place of momentum. You can't stop a speeding train. And look at women who have challenged the status quo, women who got a mentor, sponsor, women who built community around them, women who were resourceful, not thinking that a resourceful woman extends her reach beyond what is given to her. She looks outside her reach to be able to pull in those resources to address her particular need. For instance, she wants to solve a problem. The organization they don't know what to do. What she does is that she goes into her network, right, and begins to pull resources, and everybody begins to say, where did this woman come from, right? That is what Hayek Birch from Harvard Business School calls the purposeful leader. The purposeful leader is one who has a clear agenda for her life, one who has a focus on what she truly wants to achieve. And guess what? She's willing to pay the price. So to every young woman, guess what? You're going to have to fight. Just like every man, you're going to have to fight. We're going to fight, but be clear on one thing. Every organization wants to succeed, and they're going to look for the individual that is willing to pay the price. I remember H.L. Hunt said to this guy, Napoleon Hill, they asked him, why is it that people are not successful? I think I've said it here before. He said two things. He said, people have not determined what they truly want out of life. And two, they're not willing to pay the price. And I always ask this question, what price are you willing to pay for the prize that you seek? What price are you willing to pay for the prize that you? So I want to say that to all young women, right? I was speaking to one mentee. She resigned from work, and that's most Gen Zs. She resigned from work because the boss was speaking to her one kind and all of that. Let me tell you this: people are going to talk to you anyhow.
Mm,
They're going to doubt on you. They're going to say certain things, but you need to develop thick skin.
mm,
And that's the truth about it. Life is not what you want, right? Life is not, the law of attraction does not give you what you want, it gives you who you are. So create your own opportunities. Okay, so this boss, so from this particular boss who is from hell, what do I need to learn? For you, what you need to learn from such a person is how to develop a thick skin and be focused on the goal, not on the person who seemingly is on your way. Focus on the goal, keep delivering on value. And what happens that, listen, even though nobody sees it or applauds you, you are better off for it, because what you don't know is that you've stretched yourself. You are better off for it because irrespective of constraints, you're still delivering value.
mm.
And somebody will be willing to pay a premium for that.
Wow. Irrespective of constraint, you are still delivering value, and someone will be willing to pay a premium for that. Thank you so much, Father T. It's been amazing having you on this program, and thank you
It's
for
an
your
honor.
perspective on inclusion. Thank you so much. I will come again, and we're going to be talking someday soon on planning transition. So have it
Wow.
in mind, and I will come back to you on that. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
again for
Thank you
being
for
here.
having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
That was a simply amazing time out with Father T, Baba T, Daddy T, all the T's that everybody would call him. Indeed, he brought beautiful perspective to this issue of inclusion. And the last thing I said, which I want to everybody to just remember, well, one of the last things, know what you want, fight for it. What price are you willing to pay for the prize? Everyone will pay for value. It's not about gender, it's about the value you are bringing to the table. As we enjoy and celebrate women in this month of March, for everyone out there, understand one thing: we are in it together. The more value we all bring, both men and women, to the table, the better our world will be. It's not about women bringing value or men bringing value. It's both of us bringing value to the table. The world needs us to give it our best shot. So until I come your way next week, another edition of Knocks to Nuggets, and as we'll be rounding off the mothering month. It's been all about women in this month of March. Maybe I'll have BMG back in the house. I hope I can get her back in the house to tie up all of this that we have spoken about. But until I come your way next week in another edition of Nugs to Nuggets, remember, if you can think it, you can be it, and you can have it. And as always, together we win. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.